We are live.
Welcome to Dwarven Forge Live. This is on the Anvil episode 29?
30, actually. We did exactly
30.
30 on the Anvil episodes this year.
30. This is on the Anvil episode 30. I am Nate, and with me here
Is Chris. We've got a bit of a different format today because of what we're talking about. We thought it would be most convenient to just do the entire stream from inside Vorpal board. It just
Woo!
it just helps us not have to manage as many things at once. Um,
So we'll back up. So this is the in case you haven't seen this before, this is the show. This is on the Anvil. This is the show where we show you, take you behind the scenes here at Dwarven Forge and show you what we have cooking, what's going on, how we make the sausage, hand sculpted sausage, and just talk, hang out with you guys, and talk shop. And tonight we have a special person to talk to.
we do.
Is he special? He's special.
He's special. Are you
Very
kidding
special.
me? Like I would say he's one of the most instrumental people to us, like being able to do some of the stuff that we did during Wildlands. Like pulling off the games was,
And just a sweetheart.
yeah. So somebody
Yeah.
who like kind of bent over backwards to let us do a lot of stuff that we probably shouldn't have been allowed to do.
My
Well,
wife
it's
should
not-
be watching this stream.
So we have Thad from Vorpal Board is joining us.
Yeah, we can just bring him in.
Yeah,
don't need to
let's
hide
get
'em.
crazy.
Oh, wrong
Bring
one.
the NPC in.
Here we go.
There
What's
it
up,
is.
everybody?
Hi.
Ooh, Sam. So we're gonna be talking tonight. Remote play, right? Stream play, remote play. What did you call it? You call it remote, right?
Remote play is what it's generally referred to. You can also say virtual or digital, I guess. But remote is the most accurate, I think. Because as much as
Playing
possible,
D&D on
especially
the internet.
yeah, especially when like you're using a setup like this. Because when I think virtual, I think more like Roll20, where you're using like digital maps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The point of this is that it's to try and simulate, even though you're in different places, is to try to simulate the analog experience as much as possible.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's why we like remote play.
yeah,
It is not a virtual tabletop per se.
yeah.
It's a physical tabletop that we remotely send to everybody.
Yeah. And so when we get into the meat of the stream later, basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of walk you through how Vorpal works and how we did a lot of the stuff that we did for the games. Show you how simple it actually is, because I think we tend to make it look a lot more complicated because we go over the top with everything.
Go figure.
But it's
First time
actually
running.
yeah, but it's actually fairly simple to get it set up and get it going. So we'll be going over that. And Thad's going to help show all that off. And then also just talk about general tips for, like, how do you have to adapt when you're DMing remotely as opposed to being in the same room with everybody, and how to build for remote play as well, because there's some special things you have to keep in mind when you're making a build for a remote session.
And we'll be taking questions. Like,
Yes.
Oh, like Thad is here. We got tech support hotline. Thad right now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But before that, let's go ahead and go through our news real quick. We don't have a lot of it today. Oh yeah, the news. Let's hit that button. Boom. We're going to do it's playing right now.
News.
There you go. I really just can't see it in real time today.
News.
Oh yeah, news. So,
What's in the news, Chris?
what's in the news? It's fairly slow because the main thing is, I mean, this is our last week before we go on break. So after Friday, we're going to be going on break, just for a couple weeks over the holidays. I believe we will still have customer support manned, just not as extensively for the holidays.
Yes, we'll be down for a couple of days over Christmas and New Year's, but folks they're doing a rotating shift, so they will be there to answer your questions. But we're excited for a well-needed long rest. Everybody's gonna be down for a couple of weeks. Yay!
Yeah.
I think we all need that after this year.
Yeah. It's yeah, the year's introduced a lot of
Yeah.
unique challenges, and I think everybody's kind of ready to just decompress for a while.
Go to sleep.
Yeah. On that note as well, for the holiday break, in case you haven't seen it so far, we do have a holiday gift guide on the front page of our website if you're looking for any gifts. anything.
For yourself.
Anything for yourself. It's got a lot of the stuff that's in stock currently that is at a fairly good price point. A lot of good starter sets in there. We've also got a nice video to go along with it. As well as we actually just had a Dwarven Forge in 60 Seconds video come out, which is a great introduction to the company. And so actually, if any of you have been trying to explain to friends or family or trying to get other people into it who maybe aren't understanding what's particularly special about terrain or specifically Dwarven Forge, actually go check out that video. Maybe send that along. I think it's a very good, it's a very good breakdown of what we do in a simple way.
It's my wife's favorite thing now because she wanted it. She wanted to show it to one of her clients the other day before it hadn't been launched on the website yet. I just showed her a rough cut right again, and she's like, "Oh, I want to show her the Dwarven Forge in 60 Seconds thing so she can understand what you do." And I was like, "Oh, it doesn't exist yet." She's like, "Oh, well, how am I going to explain what you do?" Well, So check it out if you haven't seen it, and we'd love your. Is there any other things we should do in 60 seconds? Are there other we did it. We started this in Wildlands where we went over the different biomes, Aranthor Mountains in 60 seconds, Dread Hollow Forest in 60 seconds, Murkmire Marsh in 60 seconds. Are there other things that we should do in 60 seconds that would be helpful?
I mean, ideally, what would be nice is if we could do that for every set and every biome that we have, which is a hefty backlog, but I think they were very helpful during Wildlands. So, who's to say?
And they were fun to watch.
Yeah, I think having the pacing, because we didn't usually do stuff with that kind of pacing before. We really nail the kind of longer form like stream of consciousness walkthrough style thing, but then having like that nice quickly paced thing as well, to adding that to our arsenal kind of helps us hit like a different niche.
The opposite of the long rambly thing. It's the short, concise onslaught.
Yeah. Compatibility and build techniques in 60 seconds. Painting in 60 seconds. I don't know if we can cover that. Replenish my wallet in 60 seconds. Ship and deliver in 60 seconds.
All right, well, you can send those to ota@dwarvenforge.com and we'll on that.
Dwarven Forge elevator pitches. Outside of that, something we said last week that I think I'll reiterate this week just for those of you who missed it. If you're curious about KS8 or our Return to Cities or whatever we're going to end up calling it, talks are underway with that, and we'll probably start talking more about it at the actual
peace treaty.
We're being we've entered negotiations.
The Brooklyn Convention.
Yeah. We'll probably start showing stuff about that at the end of next month, the end of January. If you're looking for beans, that's when that's the earliest you'll be getting them. And then
everything's changing. Like we hacked out a bunch of stuff the other day, and I don't know. It's all.
Well, because that was the thing with City specifically. It was like, man, we could do 1,000 different things, and so narrowing down picking just a few of those things to focus on and do to their fullest it's a process.
Yep.
And then I guess the other big thing is we have a new prototype of the battle boards that we have to show off today.
Although I don't have the DSLR at home here.
That's fair. We can show it. We can show it in practical use at least.
I mean, I have it here with stilts on it, but it's. We might have to just show it at a later date.
We can get a better. We were planning to do this from the office so that we could do all that, and then the blizzard started hitting, and we were like, maybe we should get out of here and not be at the office, away from home.
Turns out Mother Nature had other plans for us.
Yeah, so we kind of scrambled back home and set up to do it from here instead. Although I guess we could show it later when we have the phone camera set up, because that's still a pretty good look compared to the webcam. Sure. And at least we can show it in use then. That's all the news that I've got on me. Is there anything you can think of that I've forgotten?
Sure we're getting something.
What are battle boards? Battle boards are basically kind of a companion to our terrain trays with a bit of a different design philosophy, whereas terrain trays are designed to be sort of thin and light. Battle boards are designed to be one floor height, so it's an easy way to kind of add to your builds. They're all like 12 inches by 12 inches. And so you can put banks like on the side of them to build down into a terrain tray, or to build it in line with floors. The floor height typing makes it nice. It's also got magnets on the bottom side, so you can turn it over and attach your terrain trays to the underside to raise your terrain trays up a floor height. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it.
Did you cut the walkthrough video of those? Is that
For Surface Layer scenery? Yes.
You got all the features down, like.
I did cut that video during Wildlands, but also I'm a pretty firm advocate for them in general. I think there's a lot you can do with them.
You don't need to tell me. I love them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Oh man, I was trying to.
Yeah, I think it's all the news I can think of.
All the news
at the moment
for this print. Yeah.
I guess we have the hobby hang tomorrow. If you like painting or sculpting and want to have something on in the background while you work on your own creations, the hobby hang is a weekly stream that we do every Thursday. Tomorrow will be the last one until the new year as we go on our break. You join me, Hamster, and Mace as we usually painting is what we're primarily doing. It's usually just a fun hangout. We usually get a little zany with it.
What are you painting tomorrow?
I'm not sure yet. I got a big Reaper order in. I've got this big spider that I should probably do at some point.
Spider.
I'm trying to paint things that I think we'll be using in our game soon. So I'll probably take stock of that tomorrow and see what I think will come up the soonest. Because I painted a bunch of stuff last week. I speed painted a bunch of things that I thought we would use last week. And it turns out our druid had a spell that let us just completely skip over the entire area that I had painted those things for. So
that all went
to waste.
It's really fun when you get to use the things you painted on the table.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's. I think that's it, right? In Newstown, we'll probably think of something as we're free rambling through all this.
Yeah. If things come up, then we will. Oh, are we doing a giveaway today?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're giving away 10 lifetime subscriptions to Vorpal Board, I think, right?
No. That's how that works?
Yeah.
Lifetime? Probably not.
No.
Tiny little startup company.
We're going to give away a starter dungeon, right? Starter dungeon. Cool. So we'll be doing that about halfway through the stream. We just do a simple like keyword giveaway situation. So when it's time for that, we'll let you all know. Woo!
And we can totally give away a couple free months to Vorpal Board too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So we'll do that as well then. We'll run two of them, I guess.
Giveaway party.
Let's see.
All right. So let's go to our main event.
Perfect.
Thadapalooza.
Time to start the grilling.
Yeah. So Thad, give us the elevator pitch. What the heck is Vorpal Board?
So, in essence, we are just this really simple system that lets you use the stuff that you already own, the physical stuff, terrain, minis, battle maps, board games, Dungeons and Dragons, any RPGs, and connect with your friends, family, your players, and play games remotely.
An analog feeling to digital, or a digital solution that feels analog.
Correct.
Right? That's what I like. Yep.
And so it's using the real stuff. So if you have an awesome collection of Dwarven Forge terrain, while we're here with Dwarven Forge, or a lot of, we mentioned painted minis, you got some of your favorite stuff, you still get to use that. So it's not a virtual tabletop. It's an analog stream of your physical tabletop, digital stream of your analog tabletop that
kind of like
your friends can interact with.
If the people who made Zoom made it for D&D.
It is. It's very similar in concept to Zoom, except it's purposely built to play tabletop games. It's not built for meetings. It's not built for 100-person conference calls. It's built for 2 to 6 players to get together, stream their tabletop, bring in components, and do mechanics that you can't do in Zoom. and do things that we'll cover a little bit today that make it as fun or as close to the at the table experience as you can get being remote.
So let's back up for a second. So how did what's the Vorpal board story? Before Vorpal, what's your story? How did you end up on this, right? And what's your D&D story? Like where did
Okay.
you
So my side of the Vorpal equation is I met James running a business incubator funded by New York State, up at a makerspace in Troy, and I helped small startups, people with inventions, bring their products to market with engineering type stuff in the manufacturing side, design for manufacturability, prototyping, first production runs, those kind of things. And James came in.
That's your background, right? You're a manufacturing genius.
Design engineer. Yep. I wouldn't say genius, but I worked at some big dog companies, General Electric and Mitsubishi and Hitachi for about 12 years, and then went on my own as a consultant, and then ran this incubator. And I met James at it. He came to me with literally a foam board version of the Vorpal box that scans components, and I didn't laugh at him. And then I didn't laugh at him either when he told me that his target market was board games, which I knew nothing about. And
you knew nothing about board games?
Well, I had no idea that they were so popular again, and that board games weren't Monopoly and Parcheesi and stuff you bought at Walmart anymore. And I hadn't played Dungeons and Dragons since I was in high school, and at that time D&D wasn't even in James's radar. He was a hardcore board gamer, so
it's part of the board game renaissance.
Exactly, and that has been his hobby passion, and the complexity of Vorpal has been built to play board games. And I was thinking of this the other day. January 8th of 2020 was our first game of D&D on Vorpal. We haven't even done this a year yet.
January,
which is
wow.
Yeah, I remember.
Which is crazy.
I remember you came in February, I think, to our office, or was it in January when you came in?
Late February. Yeah, I don't know. It was when you guys were just starting to do some very serious play testing with Wildlands.
Yeah, you got to see a bunch of Wildlands stuff way before the world did.
I did, which was awesome. And seeing your shop and meeting all of you guys in person was phenomenal. So, yeah, it was. It's been a crazy year, absolutely crazy year.
And so he had this idea and a piece of cardboard, and you said, "Terrific! This is just what I want to do the next couple of years."
Well, yeah. So James and Mike are hardcore software engineers, and James was 3 years deep in the software side. So I met James a couple of years ago, and they knew nothing about the hardware side, and it made sense for one. He went through the incubator with me, learned enough about it we built a pretty stinking good prototype of the box, and then I just really liked him, and I liked Mike, and I liked the vibe. I liked the target market. It gave me the opportunity to do stuff like this, which once I started looking into the gaming community, it's like, oh yeah, this sounds like a lot of fun. And I jumped in full bore. I've been full time on Vorpal since the end of June. Was my last consulting client. James is full time as well, and so is Mike now. So we have some very understanding
Kickstarter, right? When was that Kickstarter? That was
we funded the end of March.
Wow, it feels like it was a year ago. It's like I guess it's almost
deliver the Kickstarter. First week in November we shipped. No, first week of October we shipped, and have been on full-blown e-commerce the last 2 months, shipping incrementally, which is a big move in and of itself.
Yeah, it's the worst. What and so you came back to D&D. You hadn't played for a decade or two or three.
3 no, two decades. I hadn't played since high school, which was 97 was the last time I played Magic the Gathering a lot, and a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons, and the tail end of the cultist type. This is black magic, black voodoo type crap, and then getting involved with Vorpal. I mean, it was last December we started talking about trying to look into the D&D community and seeing if Vorpal would fit for what people wanted to and how they wanted to play. And we talked to a couple of local DMs, the Arthur Gaming, Arthur Wright, and Dan Mizushi, the Inked Mage. Both have a crap ton of terrain and hardcore DMs and have been for their entire lives. Like, they've never stopped playing. And they happen to be local to James and I, and we met them at a convention, and it's taken off from there. We started a D&D stream January 8th, River Break, homebrew by Arthur Wright. Ember Moon played in it. Chris Sims, who's one of the original writers. Brianna Flame, Art, and I. I hope I'm not missing someone.
It's 2020.
Yeah.
Everything is, there's some holes in the memory, at least in my world.
It's been a heck of a ride. Then we met you guys. We did some really killer games. Some train wreck games too. I mean, I tend to be a pretty honest person. When we first gave you the system, it had some holes, and we had a lot of software dev to work on for sure.
That is the wild thing to think about is, I remember when we had the first when you came in and we looked at the software in February or whenever it was. It was a thing where I looked at it, and afterwards I was like, it's cool, and I like where they're going with it. I don't know that we really have a use for it yet. And then the pandemic happened, and
forced your hands a little bit.
Yeah, and we were like, well, we'd been planning to do we'd been planning to do these live play games, and now we can't. And then it was just like, I remember, I think it was actually before we left the office for the last time, like the day when we decided, like, yeah, we're gonna have to like go into quarantine, and they'd announced, that's what it was. We canceled a stream that night because the order came through that New York was going to be shutting down, and so we were like, okay, well, the quarantine the quarantine is like starting like in the middle of the stream, so we just shouldn't do it. And before we went home, I just Nate, like I went up to you and I was like, look, I'm trying to think about like what we can like continue to do during this pandemic, and we just like we talked to these Vorpal board guys like a month ago, and I was like, I think we should try to like work something out there. And we started setting that stuff up, and it's wild to think like in just like the span of a couple months, because we ran a couple games just with the staff on this channel in preparation for Wildlands to get used to it. And then by the time we got to the Wildlands games, we were doing like really complex stuff with it. And I know every game, it was us like coming to you like, hey, so we want to do this thing that you didn't design the software for. Is there a way you can make this work? And
that's what's impressed me is like that you've been really, you've immersed yourself in the D&D community and are just trying to figure out what do people actually want on this platform, right? If people are using this every week or multiple times a week or whatever, like what do we need to deliver so that they can get the most out of this, and have made a ton of improvements based on the needs of the D&D community. It's amazing.
Well, in one of the things that we've been very conscious of, I have a love-hate relationship with streaming and what a streamer wants to try to do with a system like this versus this thing is built for playing. It is not built for streaming. And the thing I really hate about streaming is when we do a really good Vorpal stream, it looks just like a highly produced, major complex OBS thing. And we've added some elements into Vorpal that look complex, but they're really easy to set up and bring in. I mean, literally, I'm not exaggerating. If this was our home game, we're going to show you kind of a setup. It is 5 to 10 minutes for you to get your game going, especially for D&D. Like,
that's what I want to do, right? So I've used this at the office all the time, but I haven't been using Vorpal for my home game for two reasons. One, I've just sort of been too lazy to like actually, just to actually do it, right? I just have to download the app and actually set the thing up and do it. Like, you can walk through the steps tonight and realize, oh my gosh, it's only 5 minutes. It's the easiest thing ever.
Well, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, well, that was the thing, is you're like, too lazy, I got to download the app and all that. You literally, like, you got home a half hour before we started this stream,
Yeah.
and had to get your phone connected, and you guys will get to see like what the phone does soon.
I went
But
from downloading the app to having the video streaming in about 90 seconds. Then from starting to hit download, download the app, launch, new game, stream, start stream, done. It's like,
yeah.
But anyway, so one is I just sort of, I keep putting off like, oh, I haven't, I do. But two is, and this will be an interesting one, is so my setup is a weird hybrid setup. So I'm playing with my oldest son Grayson, who's 8. So he's here in the room with me, and then I'm playing with my brother and his 2 kids, my niece and nephew, who are 11 and 9. And they're all in the same room in Boston. So I've just been using Zoom, which is okay, but it's, it's not Vorpal. But so here's the first question for you: is like, how would you suggest if they're all kind of around one shared computer screen? I don't think the kids both have laptops. Although I guess they could run on a tablet. Could they run on a tablet? What would you do? So that was the other thing. I was like, man, I don't want to have to like try and like, I don't, can they run on one screen? Is that weird?
It is not weird, right? I mean, you're not going to want to. Everybody asks this all the time, like, can I use Vorpal on a tablet? There are certain tablets that can do it, of course, but I want everyone to know, and just think of this conceptually. You're taking something that's the size of your kitchen table, and you're trying to put it on a tiny little tablet.
Yeah.
Like, is it physically possible? Yes. But is it going to be enjoyable? Is it going to be that immersive experience? No, it can't be. It's, you can't watch a football game on your cell phone and really feel like you're at the stadium. You can't feel like you're in the terrain and interact with it if you're looking at it on a 6-inch wide screen. So when you have 2 groups that are remote, what I usually suggest is have everybody on a decent sized computer. Even if you can push that computer to a monitor and screen share to a TV or something, that is going to make you feel more like you're there.
Well, that would be that's a great idea to have push it to the TV.
And then you just have 2 player windows. You have 3 people in one, and you and your son in the other.
Yeah,
and that's it. Whereas when you see a stream, like every single player is an individual head, and every single character has a separate color, and we're trying to be particular with that. Home games just huddle around, just like you would a Zoom call with family, or some kind of remote call like that. Except what you have in addition is the ability to play a game together, whether it's a board game with your grandparents or a D&D session with your weekly family game.
Yeah.
Why don't we? Oh, sorry.
We're
getting a bunch of questions from chat, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just kind of wanting to see what Vorpal Board does exactly. So maybe we should.
Why don't you do the hyper speed sort of demo? Let's show them what it is, and then we can talk about some of the, like, quantify it for people, and then.
Okay. So one of the things you're going to notice is when we first came on, it was just Nate and Chris's heads, right? And that's a layout, and literally there's layout 1. There's layout 2. This is as simple as hitting Control 1, Control 2. So you just move stuff around. All of this stuff is dynamic, resizable. This is not rocket science to move this stuff. I'm left clicking on the corner.
My brother is a rocket scientist. So.
Yeah. And then now that I move stuff around, Chris, if you just hit 2 again, that brings it back because I didn't save that layout. We'll go to 3, layout 3. This is a Vorpal Board D&D setup. So what you have on the right here is Nate's cell phone streaming with the Vorpal Board app, which is absolutely free for everyone to download.
And it took 30 seconds to download, not even. It was like, it's a pretty lightweight thing.
And you connect to this web browser with your cell phone and select video streaming, which is one of the 6 options in order to play. So the only other thing that you need is Wi-Fi connected computers. So Nate and Chris and I are on play.vorpalboard.com. I logged in with my Vorpal account, created the room, sent Chris and Nate the link. They came into the session. So just like a Zoom call or just like a video conferencing call, you send everybody a link. They all come into a web browser-based thing. You don't need to download any software as a player. There's nothing you need. But I can connect my phone. Nate can connect his phone. For all the players to download the app, it's free. So if you have someone that has terrain, but they don't have the Vorpal board account, they can still download the app, connect, and stream their table from their house.
And what's cool is I'm streaming. I'm running the terrain cam. Like Chris is hosting the session, but I'm streaming the terrain from here. So like you could even one of your players could actually host and run the session, and you could DM from somewhere else and have your terrain and like it doesn't matter. You don't have to host it and set it up either.
Correct. Yeah, and we do that all the time. Where, well, like some of the higher end streams that we did, I created the session. You guys had the terrain at your place, and then we had a DM at another location physically running the game.
All right, like the Matthew Lillard Lost Odyssey game was that situation, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the one we did for the Autumn Revel with the Dungeon dudes.
Gary Kahn.
Yeah.
That's actually another thing I want to point out. The only thing that I'm doing with the streaming software today is I just have a screen capture up, and then I put our little bar with our social links on the bottom. Everything else is just happening inside of Vorpal Board. And even when we did, if you saw any of those games we did in Wildlands, the most complicated thing I did in streaming there was I put that little like overlay around the edges. And outside of that, everything else I did was in Vorpal Board. All of the scene changes, all of the assets, all that stuff.
But also, you went overboard. I mean,
yes, and that was us. And that was us going overboard to make like a big produced show out of it.
Yep.
As far as like the actual just getting people into play a game, it's way simpler.
Well, that's, backing up off of Vorpal Board for a second, I'll tell you the one amazing thing about this pandemic is I've been playing more D&D, and I've been playing regularly. I've got this home game with my family, like getting to play with my brother and my niece and my nephew and my son is like, it's the best thing ever. And it's like, I previously had kind of poo-pooed digital playing because I love sitting at the table, right? There's nothing quite like all being around the same space, whatever. But man, it's so much better. I would rather play 100 remote games than never play that one game at Thanksgiving that you could do in person. Like it's so much better to play, and it's I don't know. It's for me, it's been amazing. Like remote play is my only play, and it's awesome to have it there. So I feel like that's one of the now's the time to jump on Vorpal and get playing again if you're not, or someone was on Twitter was saying the other day, they're like, man, I haven't built with my Dwarven Forge, I haven't been playing, what any advice? And that's like, don't be precious about it. Just hop on and play. It's like, it's so, I don't know.
Another one of the things that's fun actually, I want to showcase this while we're looking at the terrain, is there's an option. So these buttons on the bottom right, there's just one with the magnifying glass here. If that's lit, then when you hover over the terrain, it zooms in so you can see more detail.
And that is my two favorite features of Vorpal are that and the dice. We'll talk about the dice in a second. And that, I'll tell you, at Zoom, every session, somebody over in my brother's household is like, where's my mini? Or where, what's that over there? Can I get to that? How many squares is that? Where's the thing? What's this? Like, there's all this sort of questions they can't quite see. They can't quite see the terrain. They can't quite see what the heck is going on. They don't know what the thing is. And then they're trying to explain to me where they want to go. And I'm like, I don't know. They're like over by the little hooky looking thing over in what? The more of I can see your cursor.
Yeah, like, I can just say like I want to go to this rock over here. You can see where my cursor is. Yep. And you're like, okay, cool, that space.
There are three major differences that are like step changers between if you played a lot on Zoom, and this is the reason you should get your family onto Vorpal for a session. But you have an account, by the way, damn it. So try it once.
I backed your Kickstarter for life. I'm like,
I know. So the three major differences are in a Zoom call, if you want to bring terrain in, you're using a webcam. And a webcam, even a 4K webcam, is not going to put out anywhere near the quality of video that we throw through Vorpal. Again, because Vorpal is purpose-built for doing this. It's going to be just like a normal video webcam that gets completely compressed. A lot of techie stuff, but the quality sucks, basically.
Yeah.
And I can also position that window. So you see how we have three heads on the left. I can move those windows around and make a huge terrain camera, which I cannot do in a video conferencing system. The other major difference is the ability to zoom and interact with terrain. And then the third thing is digital dice, which we'll show off too.
I love the dice.
So those are the like three things that are just not even options in Zoom. That, yes, Zoom is free. This is a whopping $5 a month. So if you feel like for $5 the cost of a beer, or
wait, where are you buying?
Maybe even a cup of coffee at Starbucks a month to just try this with your friends and your family. That's kind of our message tonight. Is just to show you like some very raw, simple stuff. Give it a shot. It's one of those things you just have to play with, and once you do, we find a lot of people get hooked with it. So,
well, and that must be fun for you. You do these Vorpal training when we do these like celebrity stream games or whatever. You train up like Matt Lillard and whatever, and like seeing like his face light up when he saw like kids zooming over the stuff and doing things, rolling dice. All like it's got to be fun to see that those reactions.
Yeah, and then you get the people that are used to like high-end production stuff too, that have really fancy cameras, yourselves included, right? And I love it when people look at me like I have 5 heads when I say we're going to do this all with a cell phone.
Yeah.
And what everyone's thinking is the quality is going to be horrendous. Like there's no way I'm going to be able to play and have fun with this. But I mean, Nate's just using a cell phone with our app and streaming what looks like a pretty stinking great terrain live video.
All I have on right now, I have my workbench light. It's just a fluorescent, 3-foot LED, not fluorescent, LED bar. And then I have just a clamp lamp in the corner on. Like there's no, like I have nothing, like nothing fancy, nothing crazy, nothing whatever. Like it literally just 2 simple, cheap.
Cell phones are built to take videos and pictures in crappy lighting environments. The way that the hardware and the software work is built for crappy lighting. So it works really well just with simple living room, dining room, basement uplighting. That's all you need.
You know what it doesn't work so well with?
Is fancy studio lighting with highly dynamic light colors. Jordan Forge knows.
I broke my back just trying to like light the hell out of these scenes, and then you get on the cell phone and it just looks like dog meat.
It's the reality of like sensors are different, right? Like webcams, phones, they have different sensors than a cinema camera has. Like this looks great with just general even lighting, and you can see everything clearly. There's a lot of questions here. I'm trying to look at everything.
Show them the dice, and then are there any other basic features, and we can take some questions and explain.
Well, there's a couple of questions about the arm in chat, so I'll talk about this, and this is one of the the arm, the Vorpal arm. So our RPG package, role-playing game package includes for $45. It is free domestic U.S. shipping, discounted international shipping, excluding import duties, tax, and fees, and 2 months of Vorpal service.
How many times
the arm? I know
you have that spiel down.
The arm is, to make it simple, is basically an extra long microphone stand with some attachments on the end that are specific to attaching a cell phone and being able to articulate and do detailed adjustments and get good angles. And Nate will show you some.
I'm using the Vorpal arm right now, and it's
one of the things that was nice with, because we try to do like these big cinematic things when we do our games, and so we try to do like all these like really specific camera angles and all that, and being able to have like, is it 3 points of articulation you get on it?
7 degrees of freedom, 8 degrees of freedom in this thing.
Yeah, you get a lot of control over the angle of the camera with that arm.
Yeah, so it's extra long, first of all, which I can't even get it in my field of view here. It's extra long, which lets you reach across the table, and this end right here is you put it in a clamp that's on your table, and then you extend it out, and then the business end has a ball joint and a nice securing phone cradle, so you don't drop your phone, which would be a bummer. And lots of degrees of freedom and articulation to be able to move this thing around and get fine-tune adjustments however you need to. So that's part of our RPG package.
So this is like, I have it on the arm up. This is a 2 foot by 3 foot build, which fills my camera frame. Let me get a little bit. Is that clear on the, like, how's that look on the outside? Whoa, turn that off.
Oh, people are wondering, is the RPG Vorpal arm bigger than the board game mounting arm, or are they the same arm?
No, exactly the same arm.
Okay.
Basically sized to work on a normal dining room table, or if you have a gaming table and you have that luxury.
Oh, man.
We have a couple questions about integration. They're wondering if you've got D&D Beyond integration.
Not yet.
It's something we actually just talked about. Yeah.
If anyone in chat knows the folks over at D&D Beyond, we would love to discuss integrating their API with our system so that you can roll directly into Vorpal from D&D Beyond. In all seriousness, it is something that is very at the forefront of our wish list for 2021. We were we talked about earlier, January, we didn't exist in the D&D community. We've made some phenomenal connections in the last year. We've did our first game actually with Dwarven Forge for Wizards of the Coast through a Lost Odyssey for Matt Lillard's Halloween special. So working with D&D Beyond is on our wish list for this year. And it is very possible to make a streamlined integration.
Yeah. One thing I want to say as well about, you talked about how you guys haven't really been around that long. Having seen you guys from pretty early on like we were playing games with Vorpal Board by April, I think, and the difference in the quality of the image right now from when we were playing back then, like, not only is the feed a lot cleaner, but the frame rate has improved like drastically. Like it's a much better video feed than it was back then. Like, you guys have been constantly working on improving this, and like I feel like every time I come back to it after like a month or two, like a bunch of new features have been added and stuff's just gotten better, which is nice.
Lots of optimization, algorithm tweaking, and system integration and communication between stuff tweaking. Vorpal is a 3-person team. I'm the hardware guy, and I'm the zero tech stuff. I mean, I build boxes for a living, but the software guys are where all the magic is. That's what makes Vorpal unique, and it is 5 years in development. So, and a huge beta testing during COVID. Actually, COVID was nice. We gave Vorpal to 500 users in April when it was still rough, including when you guys were using it. And people are building homemade boxes to try to scan in cards and components for board games, and making homemade arms to try to suspend a phone or a tablet over the table, and just using the software because they couldn't wait. And we got a ton of good feedback from all of that.
Yeah, you guys are rapidly improving, and I don't know, I'm very excited to see like how quickly this thing grows.
Show them the dice. Show them the dice.
Oh yeah, dice.
So, before we show you the dice, a couple of things that are important about showing the dice. Everything is color coded in Vorpal, so you see how Nate's purple, I'm blue, Chris is red. That's a player color.
You added more colors.
We did.
Yeah, white, gray, and black didn't used to be here. That's new. Cool.
That color wheel will eventually change to a Samukai style color picker, just like you have on the background. So Chris has like a light gray background. That is user specific right now. So whatever background Chris has is what you're seeing, and I can change that myself.
Yeah, so I can change my background color here by just going in there to make it whatever is most aesthetically pleasing to me.
So our standard build, and we've had this out for months and months, is a set of polyhedral dice. So a D4 through a D20. What's hugely important about our dice is they land concurrently for all players. So whether you're on a hardcore, highly processed, capable computer with a really, really nice video card, or to go back to Dwarven Forge, a 2006 MacBook that has no business trying to play a streamed online game, but it forced us into learning how to do optimization of our dice. Everything lands at the same time, and it creates these really, really phenomenal moments in a D&D game. So, Chris, if you just want to go ahead and show them the digital dice tray,
Cool.
you just add some dice, and you're good to go. And I'll roll my player color specific because I'm gray. I'm rolling 2d20. Or I can roll 3d8 for my hit dice. It is adding my totals up, and I can see my recent rolls on the left.
Yeah. So the way that you add the dice is so you can see it on my screen. This D6 up here, you click on that, and it opens this whole thing. And so the first page here is your regular dice, and you just kind of click on here to activate whichever dice you want. So like let's say I'm a rogue, I use daggers, so I'm gonna add in a D4. Everybody needs a D20, a D8 for some reason. I don't know. There's also a second page with custom D20s over here. So you can activate those if you'd like. If you want to make character specific dice. If you have an account, you can make custom, which is actually a new feature, I think.
Yeah, so about a month ago, we came out with our custom dice. So for the D&D community, if you want to make your own custom dice, you have to have your own Vorpal account. So to make your own and bring your own to the table, you have to have an account, obviously, so we can save your information. But if I've created a die, like I created one for Nate, it's called the Nate D20, or the Nate DF or something, purple with green. And it's got the Dwarven Forge Anvil, which there it is. Nate keeps rolling like crap. So that's custom. So those are not color. I set the colors of everything for that. So those are not tied to the player color any longer. Those are tied to whatever the die is. But if you see on the left, recent rolls, since Nate is purple, it's showing these are all Nate's purple rolls.
And actually,
there it is.
One thing that's very cool. Hey, you got the anvil. One of the things that's actually kind of cool about it, if you roll multiple things, and you want to you need to check the breakdown for some reason. If you go back into the dice bag, it actually shows the breakdown about what was rolled. So this is what you got on the D4s. This is what you got on the D8s. So if you're trying to track, let's say you could have a custom D8. If you're playing a paladin, you could have a custom D8 that's okay, this is the D8 that I use for my radiant damage when I hit with a smite or something. And so that way, if you need to, you can go back in there and count. This is these are the D8s. This is the damage that came from my regular attack, and then here's the divine damage on top of that, or the radiant damage on top of that. If you need to split that up.
The reason I like these dice, besides it's fun to just roll digital dice, but for me, with the gameplay, when you roll the die on screen, everybody gets to see it, and there's that thing where it engages all the other players. You're looking at the die roll, and everybody gets to, like you said, it lands at the same time for everybody. So everybody gets to experience that same nat 20 or the same nat 1 all at the same time, and it's just I don't know. I find it increases the engagement, the excitement goes up, and the die roll. And if you're streaming a game for an audience, it's really cool because then they can also see it too. You don't have to wait for the person to look at the thing and add it up and say that whatever. It's right there, and everybody's in on the thing. It's so much better. I wish at the analog table, I wish everyone could see the dice also at the same time. There's that thing about, no, it's really cool. When you see what is happening, you can all sort of rejoice or moan at the same time, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, I prefer playing at the table too, which sounds crazy as a remote system builder and manufacturer, but you get some really cool moments though with everybody seeing the terrain or everyone seeing the dice, but also with the terrain, like you have the ability as a dungeon master to focus the attention of the party in a particular place, and with the arm and the camera do fog of war type things or story arc type things where you can't do that as easily at the table. Like if you have a huge build on the table, everybody's gonna be completely squirreled out looking at all the cool stuff all over the place, and you're trying to focus them on one particular area.
Well, what's neat is I can sort of frame a cinematic scene, and I can also show them what I want to show them that I wouldn't be able to do normally if the build was out on the table in front of everybody. / they all get to see it from the same angle, too.
In that view right there is hard for me to get as a player at a physical table.
Yes.
Depending on where it is, if it's right in front of me and I'm sitting down, or I can get up and go look at it. But I call that like the Scrycam view, where you're literally in the action.
And even if you're sitting at the table in this seat, the person sitting on the other side of the table doesn't get this view because they're around the other side of the thing, whatever. So you can really frame the scene for what's going on, and you can do this neat, like we did in the first Wildlands stream game. We did ridiculous cinematic lighting where we actually had the light board so we could bring up the light, but so we actually hid the rest of the build in darkness, right? We had the little spotlight on just the area they could see, and brought up the next spotlight and then reveal the whole thing, and it was really cool to be able to control what the players could see and when they see it.
Yeah. So if you really want to go over the top with stuff like that, you absolutely can. Another cool trick actually that I want to bring up. So with the minis, especially if you are pulled further out, one cool trick that we do to help differentiate better is if you know what everybody's color is going to be, you can color the bases of the minis to match. Yep. So right now I'm red. And so I could be red every game, and my mini has a red rim around the base. I do that for one of the games I play at Fable 42. My color is orange, and so when I painted my mini and sent it over for the game, I did an orange rim around the base, so that even if it's pulled really far out, I can still tell who I am, apart from everything else, because I can see my base color.
We did that with all the DF games. We had we color coordinated them out, and it really helps pop when you're looking for that little green ring or that little purple ring or whatever.
Even a little Play-Doh around the outside edge, just any colored clay or something, so you don't ruin your beautiful mini. Just anything.
Yep.
There's also some plastic rings you can buy. They tend to get over past the grid, but all very doable. I feel like we're missing some questions because the chat is blowing up, which is awesome.
I'm trying to get everything. There's some questions about whether you can draw on the video or ping places. I told them what you can do is you can hover your cursor over it, and everybody can see what you're pointing at.
Yeah, show again, the hover, if you want to.
So everybody can see my mouse right here, this red mouse, unless I turn it off by clicking this button if I want to hide it for some reason. And then if I want to zoom in on something, if I'm trying to check out a nook or something, I can click the magnifying glass and hover over it, and it points in, and I can get into the details there. If I want to be able to tell what's happening in this close encounter and differentiate between the minis better, I can do that stuff.
And I can see his cursor too. So if as the DM, Thad can point to a thing with his yellow cursor, and Chris can point to a thing with his red cursor, and I know where everybody, and we all know what the other person is talking about.
Yeah, Nate's our DM. He has the terrain. DM, I want to attack this monster here, and then bonus action disengage and hide behind the tree over here. I mean, that's that kind of discussion you're having. Instead of using a laser pointer or physically pointing with your finger at the terrain at home, you're doing it with a shared mouse pointer in the virtual space.
That is awesome.
A mechanic again that you can't do in Zoom. And I'll show you a cool way that we actually allow players to move their own mini around in Vorpal here in a little while.
Mm-hmm. We have some questions asking if there's a way to measure distance from the player's point of view, and what about spell effect areas, which I think we were planning on covering, but we should make sure to... Yeah, because that's pretty big.
So here's how you measure distance in Vorpal board as a player. you have terrain that has scale built into it, right? So I mean, obviously we know what a Dwarven Forge terrain tile is. This one is 15 feet wide, right, or 20 feet wide, depending on the size of the tile. These are probably what 3x3s, Nate, 4x4s.
3x3s and 3x6 and 6x6.
So you can just do that counting yourself, and because you have a really good high res live video, you can do it just like you would at the table. So it's the answer to that question is use your Dwarven Forge terrain. We're not trying to do. We don't want a digital ruler. We don't want to turn it into that. We'd rather stay like we're riding this line between digital and analog, and we're trying to stay as close to the analog side as possible. If you need to, have the DM throw a ruler out really quick. I mean, you would do that in your home game anyway, right?
Yep. Or you can ask and say, like, how far is it to the Manticore? The DM could count it for you or tell you, like, oh yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 5 squares.
Excellent.
We know Thad is drinking the cheap beer. Yes, Hoppy, Hippo. I am definitely drinking a lot of cheap beer these days. Startups, baby. Not quite down to the ramen noodles, but
yeah. So I guess some of the questioning is if somebody is like doing like wargaming, there is no feature to like kind of measure out, and the problem with that is it's hard to have something that measures the exact distance because you don't know how far they're gonna have the camera zoomed out. That's the main thing.
And that's a fair question. So in that case, the person managing the terrain would have to be Johnny on the spot and ready to break out a ruler to do that. And honestly, so here's another little trick that you could do. Part of what I love about this job is just figuring out how to solve problems with the stuff. You could actually scan in a ruler, and if you left your camera in the same exact spot the entire game, which for a war game is probably going to be a top-down kind of view, you could scale a ruler to the size of the ruler, or the size of the terrain.
Size of your map.
Now, one thing you can't do right now in Vorpal is rotate in anything other than 90-degree dimensions. So I can rotate it horizontally or vertically, and that's it. I can't rotate it to measure at a 32.5-degree angle.
Couldn't you scan a diagonal ruler? You could scan a 45-degree ruler right in the square. You could have it at 40, or you could have you could do a 45 and a 30 or something.
You could. So like that's one of those things. Depending on what you're trying to do, Vorpal is just based upon images. So you bring in images.
You ever play Car Wars?
I don't know what that one is.
There was a Steve Jackson Games car battle thing. There was this turning key that had this weird specific little piece of paper that had all these specific angles built in on each side. It was like a different angle. You could make a little custom tool that you scan in that had like different angles or something if you knew.
That's kind of cool.
Let's see.
I'm sure there are some very, very, very creative people in the wargame community out there that could crack a digital solution. Or just have the person that's moving the minis just measure it for you.
Should we get into spell effects? So people are asking about scanning components and with spell effects and everything. Are we ready to move on to that part, or do we want to focus more here?
Why don't you show the example we have for components of the a fan build?
Oh, we can do the fan build? I guess it is about 8 o'clock. We could do the fan build and start a giveaway right now if we wanted.
Yeah. And show them how you scanned in the stuff. Maybe Thad can talk to it before we show it off. But...
Excellent. What word should we do for giveaway?
Snicker snack.
It's not a word, but we'll go with that. Sure.
What kind of beer? What kind of beer are you drinking, Thad? What are you drinking?
I am sadly drinking seltzer this evening.
All right, so seltzer is the word. Seltzer.
All right, seltzer. Seltzer. People are saying Vorpal. The problem with that is everybody's saying Vorpal right now. So it'd be too common in conversation. If somebody's not trying to enter, but they're trying to talk about Vorpal, it'd be rough.
However, seltzer. That's.
So let's go ahead and so this is our fan build. Thad, how did you bring this in, by the way?
All right, so Chris literally just sent me these photos through Discord. I put them on my cell phone, and clicked import, selected the image off my cell phone, and it came into Vorpal. And my phone is connected to the game. And I will show you the next one real time at how difficult this is. Import, find on phone, click the image, hit done, and it comes into Vorpal. Here's the second photo that you sent me. And then you can rotate it around and just drag it to resize.
Yeah. So the giveaway right now is for a starter dungeon. We're doing a starter. Was that?
Painted starter dungeon.
Painted starter dungeon. Yeah. And so this fan build is by NPC Shop Vendor or Primo Danielson. They go by both names. Yeah, he called it inside like the Alchemist Garden interior, basically. And I really love this this build. It's like very creative to me. The way that they use kind of elevation, and they took the thorn walls and just made like a little 2-layer build. That's it's pretty creative.
It's got resin. It's got plague stone.
Yeah, it's this is also one of the Discord has been doing a thing called 12x12 Days of Christmas, where they've been challenging themselves to make as many interesting encounters that fit on just a 12x12 grid. And this is I've been trying to feature those as much as I can, because it's been a cool little community. It's been a cool little community project, and so it's been cool seeing like what kind of stuff has come out of that. And
so yeah, go ahead. So yeah, here's the other one. I was just noticing too, if you hover over Zoom, these photos somehow in the process of getting through Discord got like completely truncated down to nothing.
That's unfortunate.
The file size is like 64K at this point. So they're not super high res, but
that's unfortunate. I might have compared. Well, let's see, because I basically downloaded it off of Discord and then put it into Dropbox and then sent it to you through Discord. Yeah, so it went through a lot of different compressions on the way here. So that's probably partially my fault.
No, that's okay. But yeah, Nate was hovering over trying to look at cool detail. Now, if you bring in a photo, like just like a normal 1 or 2 megabyte photo, it is insanely detailed in that zoom. It is a full res zoom that you're getting. And we did that trick for the Lillard game, right?
We did. For the Lillard game, are you talking about all the different background images that we brought in to make it complicated?
We had a really nice static shot of the terrain that we switched to for storytelling. And I bring this up, and part of the reason I'm glad we brought photos in, right, is if you're a dungeon master, and I didn't do this today because this is kind of business stuff, and I didn't want to use copyrighted materials, but if you break out your player's handbook or your monster manual, and you have some really cool art in there, and you want to show off that art to your players as part of your storytelling as a dungeon master, you take a freaking photo with your phone and you bring that in at the time. So this crazy monster comes out and you show that visual.
Yeah.
Just like, if you were a DM at the table and you wanted to hide the stat block, right? And a lot of the higher end, like Beetle and Grimm's does this. They have a stat block with just the picture of the monster and all the DM bits on the back. Again, more of an immersive experience for your players, and you do it by just taking a photo.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we did in that game was we took pictures of the build from specific angles so that they could see everything and like explore. And when they were out of combat, we would use those pictures. So what I could do was, while they were using that picture, I was taking the phone and the video feed and setting up for the next like big surprise reveal. So they wouldn't be able to see. We'd have the phone video like super small and off to the side. And so while they were doing like the puzzle sections of the room with a view like this, I was setting up for when the monsters would come out, basically. And then when that happens, we change to the overlay we change to the hotkey that has the video feed instead, and now like there's the reveal. It let us kind of like play with the information, and it was fun.
We did in that Autumn Revel game. We did that, right? There was a kind of a neat hero shot, mostly overhead hero shot of the thing, and we as players, I was playing in that, right? We got to kind of strategize what we were going to do, and then sort of point to it and sort of say, hey, what are we doing here? And then when sort of the plan went into action, switch to the actual live cam, and could sort of see what actually happened. And it was a nice hybrid model. And you could do these, like, literally this picture that you have here would be a fantastic map that you could use, right? So you don't even need to use the live cam if you don't want to. You could take static pictures of your build, do a build, take a static picture, an overhead picture, and then use it as a static thing like you would in Roll20. And then you could use, you got your little tokens there. Right? You import your tokens or pictures of your minis or whatever the heck you want and move them around.
Yeah, we're gonna show off some of this in a minute.
We're gonna start getting into like the components features of this, because that's especially when we're getting into like the board game side of things too, because we've mostly been focusing on the D&D stuff, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of other features that were meant for board games that are also still useful for D&D.
Why don't we switch the view 4, Chris?
All right. 4. So here's view 4.
Ooh.
Bam.
So you've probably seen in our streams where we've made things a lot prettier. And this pretty layout, if you will, is from River Break, which is our regular game on Fabled 42, one of the partners that we have doing D&D content 4 days a week. But really, again, all this is images. This is just a PNG image that we brought in with the app that makes a nice player border. None of this at all is necessary to play, but when you see Vorpal and you're like, oh my god, this looks complicated to set up, there are a lot of things that we're doing from a stream standpoint that is completely unnecessary for like a normal home game. The name block is, you just type it in the text field at the top, but you can make these fancy borders if you want. We talked a little bit before about player minis. So there's a couple of different options here. One, this is a Hero Forge color mini. The one on the left is dropped right out of their player or their hero creator. So the portrait mode, cropped to get rid of the background. So obviously this is huge. You can bring these in. Again, it's just a photo. And as a player, you can bring in your own digital mini into the digital space and drag your mini around, size to whatever angle the DM happens to be building the terrain for that day. So if I'm Korbog the Ghost Hammer here, and I want to drag him around and move him down, I can go 1, 2, 3 and bring my mini down into play space. This one here is a little different. So this is a physical printed mini of my character on a wolf. This is an actual photo that, again, we just cropped and trimmed out the background. But I can bring in mounted version of Bryn Vrog riding around on a wolf and physically move that mini around.
You can do the overhead and just use tokens, or you can,
Yeah, I showed Ember before with that overhead shot. You can use those just like you would in a true virtual tabletop. I won't say their names. And drag the tokens around, player tokens. A lot of the custom mini companies are coming out with token creators as well.
Well, you could do condition. You could have little condition markers you could import too, huh?
You can do physical condition markers, which we do a lot, but sometimes that's a pain in the butt. If you have, I have this weird thing about putting a lot of stuff on the play space that then makes it hard to move the minis. Yep. Condition markers and area effect spells are those two things. I prefer when I play with digital area effects for spells. And we've used this a couple times in the Dwarven Forge games, and I just love this image. I can cast a fireball as the player. First of all, we talked about sizing, right? So a fireball, you're a DM, 20-foot, 30-foot radius, 30-foot diameter.
I think it's 30. 20. I think it's 30 diameter.
30 diameter. All right. Well, so the terrain is a certain size. I know. Why don't we know this? I feel like 30 diameter is too small. It should be 60 diameter. But anyway, you know what the size of your terrain is. You resize the fireball to match that size, and then as the player, I get to place this spell.
20
where I wanna
radius.
hit
I was right. That was it.
It is. All right, so I'm pretty close, 40, 45-ish feet. All right, so there, 40-foot diameter. Right, and I can go, I want to capture these two people and not that person and pick up this guy over here. So I can drag that around and place it myself. Another good one is darkness, since darkness tends to stay around a while, or hunger or hadar, things that stay around a while. If you physically put that on the board, like it makes it a pain in the butt to do anything anymore. But I just grab a lot of this stuff from pngitem.net, free PNGs, and royalty free a lot of times. Or you can create your own art and do whatever you want.
So wait, can I grab that component and drag it around?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Go for it.
Oh, yeah.
Left click on it, and then that little square in the bottom right corner, click on that, and it'll let you drag and resize.
That's awesome. So I can then throw my fireball, or figure out where my fireball is as the player, not the DM. That's awesome.
Let's see. Perfect. Should we show off the... I'm trying to think if there's any other features we haven't touched on yet. Actually, let's roll the giveaway real quick.
Yeah, Seltzer.
You have 20 more seconds to type Seltzer in chat if you haven't entered yet. Don't worry if you you won't be disqualified if you type it a second time. But yeah. US only shipping. I guess I should also say. If you're international, we just need to send it to your US address and they can forward it to you or something.
Crappy rolls.
Yeah, but it's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing.
Hey, didn't you said you were going to give away 2 months of free Vorpal?
Yeah.
So should we do that too? Let's do a different. Let's give it to multiple. Maybe we'll do that one.
I was thinking we can roll the dungeon now. We could do the other one near the end of the stream, or
like 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and roll the starter dungeon giveaway. Hey, it goes to McGreg. Okay.
Hey, is that a Valorian coin? It is.
It is.
All right. McGreg. Okay, won that. I'll actually hit you up on Discord. That's actually easier than here because I know you're in Discord.
We had one of the in our last we used one of their pictures in our last update.
Yeah. I think I sent you one of the. Was it the Aranthor Awakened 12x12 build?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
How about a code to try Vorpal for a few months? I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna give away.
Yeah, we're gonna give away a couple months of Vorpal in like 20-ish minutes.
So Nate, you asked about the Valorian coin, right? It's I don't know which one, but
Do you have the coins there?
yeah,
Okay.
I got that.
All right.
So you just scan these suckers in, and that's what this one is. So see how it has the black line around it?
Yeah.
Justice. Yeah, it's this one. Oh, that's Mercy. I don't know. It's one of these style coins, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These are kind of kitschy, but like if you're running like some kind of poker type mechanic in your game, or if you want to like physically award players with something that they need, like the token to the ferryman or something, you can scan these in just like you would at a home game. If you noticed before, it had a counter on it. So again, more of a board game feature, but you can toggle a counter up, on, and off, and you can increment the value of that counter.
I've never seen that. Yeah. Wait. When? How long is that?
There's all kind of board game stuff we never cover. There's on every single element in Vorpal, there's a little 3-dot bar that pops up in the top right corner, and that opens up a sidebar to interact with that component and do all kind of things. Deck management, pick up for in your hand, things like that that are normally for cards. But toggling and doing token counters is important, like in a game like Terraforming Mars, and you have a big stack of little cubes or something, or
Yeah.
if you're playing a poker game and
Down, you can use it in game for D&D. It could be, there's a terrible, the players know that something's going to happen in 4 rounds. You could have it as a countdown, or whatever. There's some that's a neat
flavor.
That's pretty cool.
You can use that to track charges on something. You can use it to
yeah.
you can do a lot with it actually. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that was in. I didn't even know that was in here. Interesting.
One of the things that we don't tend to show a lot in streams is actually using physical cards.
Yeah.
As part of the game. So like in the game that I play, I do critical hit decks and critical fail decks.
Yeah.
So instead of it's homebrew version, it overrides the standard D&D rules. So we'll scan those in real time. But what's cool about this is, and I'll have Chris show the hover over zoom. Mm-hmm. If you just put your pointer over the top and hold down spacebar, it pops up a full screen view of that. Now that's player specific. I can't see what Nate and Chris can see, even though they're zoomed on that detail. So you can again use these cards for things like, if I'm a player and I have a stat block for my companion and I want to bring that into the game myself and have that at the ready all the time, or if you're a DM and you want to have all that stuff digital, you can do that, and you can also pick it up into your hand. So when it's flipped over, only you can see that. So I'll pick this card up. I'll let Nate pick it up.
How do I you use the 3 bar?
You just click on the
the 3 dots.
Hit the 3 dots.
Oh, pick up.
And now for Chris and I, we see a purple bar underneath it. And for Nate, that card is flipped up, and he can see it.
But you guys can't see it. I can see it, but you guys can't see the back of it.
I see a card back, so I'll pick up Ember into my hand.
Oh, cool.
And Ember is just a symbol for you guys.
How do I reveal it to you?
You click on it again, and just hit drop, and then flip it over by left double clicking.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
so
you
there's
can
some things you can do with handouts and
yeah, you have a cool note that the players found or something.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be really good for.
And that can be... Go ahead.
That'd be really good for games like Betrayal and stuff like that, where like you have like a couple cards that you pick up, where it's like like you hold on to this stuff, and
you have a handwritten note that the players found or something. You want to pass it to them, as the DM. You can have that picked up. And then when it's time for you to reveal it, you drop it and place it.
That's really cool. Yeah, you can literally pass. You can bring in assets that are like specific things meant for players, like notes and stuff like that, and just say like only you get to claim this and know what's in there.
Secret handout.
Oh, that's really cool. Actually, I hadn't thought about that. We should do something like that.
If you have an item card, right, and as a DM you want to hand the players the item, you can hand them the item card. And we do. You can do all of this as a D&D player, and this is the reason we structured the RPG package this way. If you don't have to maintain card secrecy, you can just scan this stuff in real time with your phone, or you can, by taking a picture, or you can prep all this stuff before your game session if you're a super organized DM. But if you're last minute, you can do it real time. If you're finding that you're going to do a lot of that kind of component and card scanning, and components and cards are basically the stuff that we're showing you that's all around that aren't the video stream and our video chat feeds. That's where our board game package comes in, and these are the boxes that I make and take me forever. But you basically just put your cell phone in the box, and the cell phone is going to automatically recognize that there's a new card in this glass scanning bed, and it crops off of this pink background. But nice little table candy too. This is made out of high-end veneered hardwoods and leather hinges, and the whole thing all folds down and turns nice and flat, so you can put it away and store it if you like. Bottom, sides, top, puck light, things like that. So I do that for like decks. So if you had a deck of many things, or if you had a critical hit and fail deck you wanted to bring in, or as a DM you could have a deck with a bunch of NPCs in it, and they could randomly draw or encounter cards and randomly draw those as an engaging experience, or actual cards like normal poker cards or something. All kind of crazy stuff.
Or Card Street or board game or whatever.
Yeah,
you could play in-game poker on the or whatever.
Such as decks for Red Dragon Inn. I'm not familiar with Red Dragon Inn. Do you know it?
I don't know that one.
Me either.
I'll Google it.
It's making someone in chat. They're going like, oh, this sounds like it'd be useful for Red Dragon Inn. I've never heard of it.
That doesn't mean anything. I'm not the board game guy. That's James. James probably knows exactly what that is and owns it.
Yeah. He's already played it so much he's sick of it.
Yeah. Yes.
So what else? Do we have? Are there other questions from chat? Are there?
Down the line, if I start with the RPG bundle, can I add the box later?
Do
you sell the box separately at all?
We haven't had that question before. Would we do it? Yeah, we could probably come up with something. Yeah. That would be something. If you had that question, just hit info@vorpalboard.com if that was something that you were interested in. We're a small company. Ooh. Give us a ring. We tend to be good people, and we'll try to find out. If you really want to start using it, we'll figure out a way to make that happen.
You guys are great people. It's just good people.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing to keep in mind is, this is, I think part of the reasons we get along so well is you guys are also a very small company that is starting out and trying to do like a cool new thing. Like you're a 3-person team.
And it's terrain centric. I mean, it's just the best. What else do people want to know for what else do they need to know about streaming? What else are playing remotely?
I'll dig through I'm trying to answer as many of the questions as I can answer, like in chat, as well as directing like the bigger ones to stream. What are the new features you're looking to develop? Like, what are there new things you guys are hoping to bring to Vorpal soon?
There are. So the custom dice as they sit now, that the ability to control the base color of the die and the color of the text, and also be able to import individual solid vector graphics, SVGs. So like this is the custom I built for Nate, and that the Dwarven Forge Anvil is the 20 value, and thankfully I rolled one.
So
by the way, Vorpal dice roll just as shitty as your normal dice. I did not screw up the dice.
Language.
There was a question earlier about how, like, what the algorithm is like and
all
how
my dice rolls?
Yes, about like how randomized it is. How does the algorithm work?
It is literally an off-the-shelf random number generator that's integrated into a really fancy physics engine, and the only thing we custom coded with that was all the actual dice stuff, but the number is pre-generated as soon as you click roll.
Pre-generated -4? Like, is it?
I don't have any God controls. I don't have a toggle switch in the system that allows me to make good rolls or crappy rolls. It seems like that sometimes.
I know. Every time we play, someone is cursing your name when there's a bad roll.
Remember how Critical Role used to blame Glenn all the time? I feel like I'm the digital version of Glenn. Or, no, was it Glenn? No, Gil. It was Gil.
If you have one thing to aspire to, that's
yeah.
You've made it. You've arrived.
So one thing we didn't talk about, right? So as Nate has a 2-foot by 3-foot build, right? And you, as a DM, have the choice of showing your players the entire full-blown kind of a top-down view of the table. This is where hover over zoom is absolutely essential. Like, if you didn't have that, you couldn't see really anything that was going on here. One of the tricks that we try to get some of the DMs to do is just like before, where Nate had that more in the action shot. That makes it if your party is navigating, be top down, right, where they need to see a whole area. But for like combat, if you get them into the combat, it helps create that kind of immersiveness, and it also shows off the terrain a lot better, and they can also see the three-dimensionality of the terrain and find places to hide and places to attack from, or competitor combat advantage kind of positioning type things.
It just feels cinematic when you're down, when you're in it. It's
Yeah.
like, it's fun.
One of the things
I'd like to be able to go live. When I'm playing home, I just, I'll swing the camera up high when it's sort of between turns with the thing I'm doing. And when it's the player's turn, I swoop down over to where they are and say, okay, so, all right, Selkin, you're done with the Fomorian. Let's go over here and see what Draga is doing with the Manticore. And you kind of, pan over to dolly over to them, and then it's their turn to figure out what's going on. And it feels very cinematic. It's fun.
We use like a 4 foot by 6 foot builds plus a side table build, so we were wondering how to do that best. Well, the nice thing is the arm is very flexible, so you can swing it around a lot. We've also done massive builds before where we've put the camera and the arm on a dolly, so we could like literally roll it around the table.
Or 2 cameras.
Yeah, or do 2 cameras. If you have 2 phones, you could run 2 different video feeds in.
Or 2 arms if you want to hot swap between kind of thing.
That is one thing we did for the Lillard game. That's actually what we did was we had 1 phone, but I set up 2 phone arms on our 2 separate builds. And so when they finished the one room, we switched to a picture of the final area. That was like a cool like cinematic picture of it. And so while they were doing their role playing there, I switched the phone over to the second arm, and then when they got into the room, we switched over to the video, and suddenly they're in an entirely different place.
So yeah, each segment of this arm is 18 inches, which is why I can't get it into my field of view here. So that's 1.5 feet. So you have full extension depending on the weight of your phone, right? But these do have some pretty heavy duty springs in them that they'll work with a microphone. So they're, if you can imagine the weight of a Yeti mic versus the weight of your phone.
Yeah, I've never had any problems with holding. I have a big iPhone with a metal case.
You almost have 4 feet of reach. Now, if you needed to see all 4 foot by 6 foot,
take a photo. Take a high res overhead photo.
And that would play better for your players, because when you get that high, there's only so good that a live stream 30 frames a second video is going to get from a resolution standpoint. We do the same thing for board games. So actually, like if we're going to play Pandemic, which is a huge board, it's I think a 3 foot by 4 foot board with a lot of tiny text in it that you actually need to be able to read.
That must be the Legacy. Is that the Legacy version?
Yeah, Pandemic Legacy. Yeah.
Oh. I have the original Pandemic, and it is not a 4 foot board.
I think that is actually what I would recommend if you're using a massive build like that is, use a combination of pictures for when they're in the roleplay segments, because they don't really need to like really bother with like exact spacing and all that, and then they can zoom in on the picture and
go back overhead for a tactile, say, okay, if they need to get the lay of the land again, you can cut back to the picture overhead and point you with your cursor, say, oh yeah, you're here, or whatever. This is, you can indicate it as, let's go up.
Yeah.
I got off on a bit of a tangent. Going back to dev features.
Right. New features.
That question. So the dice right now, you can change color of the die and face color of the die, or text color. We're gonna come out with some really cool looking dice. We're not sure exactly how we're gonna integrate this, but possibly it'll end up being like a buy a la carte sort of thing like D&D Beyond has that will be added to your account. We're also very seriously looking at the ability to add components from desktop through the web application.
Yeah.
That'd be really useful, actually.
Yeah, especially there are board gamers that are pre-scanning in huge amounts of games and whatnot, but for the D&D community, going to Google, going to your D&D Beyond account or your any kind of assets that you already physically own, even digitally on your computer, to be able to bring those in through the computer rather than going back to the phone.
Awesome.
super handy, especially for DMs that pre-build a lot of stuff. They can have that story in just a folder on their computer, which is how we do it on the phones, but it's easier to use on a computer. There's a lot of infrastructure stuff still ongoing to continue to make Vorpal, at least on the Vorpal side, as bulletproof as it can be. And we've been doing a lot of that stuff over the last month or two. So the non-fun stuff,
improving performance and the like.
Yeah,
it has gotten so much smoother. Like since we were playing games, even like 6 months ago, it's unreal how much better the video streaming has gotten.
And I really want to look at integrating D&D Beyond. We just need the right contacts, and then there's some possibilities of some like integrated content sort of stuff, assets from certain people that you can bring in. But we're still trying to stay very much in that you own stuff. Let's let you play with the stuff you already own and not have you buy a bunch of other stuff in our system. So it would more be like cosmetics and ease of use enhancements, but not like you can't do anything unless you buy this again through Vorpal sort of thing.
I wonder if there's any integration you could do with World Anvil. I don't know what you'd actually need, but I'm obsessed with World Anvil. It's like, have you ever used it?
No, I'd have to think of that one.
It's a world building platform where you can bring in a map and have an interactive map of your campaign world with like all these interlinked articles and things where you can sort of hover over the map and it go over the town and it pops up the name of the town and like a little blurb, and then you can click on it and it'll actually pull up the thing, and it's awesome. I mean, I don't know what it would actually do here, but like it's awesome.
One more there's
going over land or something.
So,
you could
so hold on, is that something you have on your tablet?
Is what?
Could you use World Anvil off of like
it runs on the web? It's just a web, runs on your web browser.
Okay, so screen sharing is a feature that we currently have on Android
so you can pull it up on your
devices.
tablet, show them where they're going, and then
Yeah, so we only have that on Android right now because Apple is a real pain in the butt about sharing screen. So sorry, Nate, I know you were late on the cell phone side in doing table streamings, but
it works now. I'm using my iPhone as we speak.
Yeah, so the app itself, you don't have screen sharing on your Apple app, and I have it on the Android.
But it's coming. You're developing it.
It is in the dev list.
There's somebody asking earlier if there's any kind of fog of war feature, if you're considering like a fog of war feature to block out certain parts of the screen for players.
Yeah, so that's kind of an example of some assets that we might eventually end up including in Vorpal. The way I do fog of war right now, let me see if I can find it on my phone. The easiest way is just to have the DM hover into the area of interest, right? So if Nate only wanted us to look at, this lake region and not be able to see all the stuff in the top right corner, maybe that was eventually where the party would go. That is the simplest way of doing fog of war. I think even if we were to add some cool stuff, and it also creates, again, that more immersive remote player experience by focusing everybody in that spot. But you can bring in a PNG of some fog
and move it around or whatever and pull it back.
Yeah, and of course this is buried because I haven't used it in forever. I actually don't DM my own games. I'm only a player.
You could do the really overly complicated idea. I was telling Chris I wanted to do a thing where the players were lost in a blizzard and we build like 8 feet of terrain on like a lazy Susan slider thing, and then have the camera static and just slide this giant 8-foot board of terrain around under the camera, depending where they go, and they can't see anything that's not on the. It's wildly impractical, but
Well, no, but here's a very practical way to do it, and this is fog of war concept to the T. Use a Dwarven Forge terrain tray. Leave the camera stationary and fly in terrain builds, and we've done that.
That was it, right? It was just flying, moving, physically leaving the camera static, and then just physically moving. I mean, I could actually almost do it with this
Yeah,
But
we
I can move this thing that I have. This is all on a tray right now. I could.
we've done that before. We for the one with was it the one that Jim DM'd? We moved we kept the camera stable and we just slid the build around to show like where they were, and we covered what they weren't able to see with cloth. There is no way to play music currently, right? Like usually what happens is we
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so
a good question.
so we are just like I've mentioned D&D Beyond a couple times because it's hot to trot in my mind. But yes, integrating with a music providing partner is on our list for this coming year. It, part of the reason all this stuff doesn't exist is really because we didn't exist 12 months ago. But yeah, that capability is super simple, that we can just pump through the browser audio, which is how a lot of the desktop audio systems for playing games are already built anyway.
yeah.
And
I know. I see people like get into Sirenscape or BattleBard's rooms, and so
yeah,
they just have it like open in a different window, and everybody's in that room listening to music.
yeah, so the matter of integrating that is really a matter of us finding the right people that we want that are already creating really great sound effects and music tracks. That's not our expertise. We'll end up working with somebody that's great at that already and integrating them into the system, so that all the players don't necessarily need to be in that separate application together. So they only need to be in one room, the Vorpal room, and just again making this as simple as possible for people, which is complicated on our end, but super super simple for the users.
Well, it's worked so far.
Yeah. It's almost 8:40 here. Why don't we go
Yeah,
ahead and start?
let's give away.
Yeah, let's start the second giveaway. What's the word that we should use for the second giveaway here? We'll be giving away how much is it, Thad?
2 months.
2 months of Vorpal board free if you want to try it out.
How about
Yeah, go ahead, pick a word, any word.
ogre? There's an ogre on the screen.
All right. If you want a chance to
Fomorian.
win, if you want a chance to win two, we can't do Hand Planet again. We can't do Hand Planet every week.
Formorian. Ogre. OGRE.
OGRE. If you want a chance to win 2 months of Vorpal board free, so you can try it out with you and your group. Go ahead and put Ogre in the chat. We'll roll that in probably about 10 minutes. And at the same token, if you have any other questions about Vorpal board, anything for Thad, or any general DM tips, or anything about just how to make all this happen, go ahead and get them in. I think we're at the point where we've kind of showcased most things, and it's more about answering whatever questions you guys have.
We didn't talk too much about specifically building terrain for the stream.
Yes.
My three pieces of advice are: one, keep it smaller as opposed to larger, right? Like it's once you start getting much bigger than this, it starts hard. It's hard to get it all on camera / large enough that players can see what's going on. So like 2 feet by 3 feet, you can do 3 foot by 3 foot, but generally a small, anywhere from a 1 foot by 1 foot to upwards is good. Like that always says, just drop the camera in, like, once you actually have the build, get in low and feature it all cinematic light. The thing I do just in general across the boards is I tend to put I have the build. I think about where the players are going to sort of come and what the POV of the camera is as I'm building, and then tend to build the larger stuff up in the back, right? So like this build, for instance, here is. Let's get the mic out of the way.
If you put a big tree in the front field of view, it's
I've essentially, and this is not, I did this while we were in the 20 minutes while we were prepping for this stream / while we were starting the stream, so there's no, I don't have anything in the foreground, and then I have it sort of build up, and I sort of clustered all the trees in the back, and so I kind of left it pretty clear in the front so it's easy to see. So it's sort of just favoring the back for the high stuff and lower stuff in the foreground. And then just don't be too cluttered is also just for remote play in particular. So there's not a ton of stuff in here. There's not a bazillion trees. There's not a bazillion rocks. There's plenty of breathing room so people can see what's going on. And we talked about lighting a little before, like just you don't have to. I added another light here just to give us a little more contrast, but really it's just I have a one LED overhead bar, and I have a clamp lamp bounce off the ceiling as a little bit of fill, and then this one a little LED lamp over here. But it's not, keep the lighting pretty clean. Like if you do one strong light from one direction, it gives you a little bit of nice shadow and stuff to give a little depth to your pieces. But other than that, you don't need to do fancy cinematic lighting. I don't know what else, Chris and Thad. What else have we learned throwing terrain on camera and Vorpal?
Even just a battle map with some scatter and some positive and negative elements work really, really well. And you can get a huge build that way too.
Yeah,
and create a lot of cool verticality as well.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is to think about. You just try to focus as much as possible on making sure everything is clearly conveyed, because they're not going to have the ability to walk all around the table the way that you are. So yeah, just focusing on building one direction basically will help you make a build that like reads much more cleanly to somebody who isn't actually able to see it in a 3D space the way that you are.
That re-emphasizing this again for anybody that wasn't there, but having a color on the mini bases so the players can clearly see where they are in the space, and where their party members are in the space. Simple Play-Doh, paint tape, any base, colored tape, anything, just something to flag it.
Blue and drug.
We've got two more questions here. I'm going to ask the one that is quicker to answer first. Is there a written instruction manual that details all the features and how to use them?
We consciously chose not to write things down. The software is changing so constantly. To write down everything that we've covered would be a 50-page manual that no one would ever want to read. So instead, what we've done is, and if you could type this into chat, Chris, vorpalboard.com/setup. There's a bunch of videos in there that show the basics on how to use the phone app, how to set up the arm and move the arm around and things like that, how to do component scanning, a lot of the base features. We're actually talking with Dwarven Forge about in early 2021 doing a how to D&D with terrain on Vorpal board sort of video, covering a lot of the topics that we've discussed tonight, probably just in a more organized fashion and not us rambling around like a bunch of crazy people.
Wait, that's how we do our videos.
Well, yeah, to some nice music.
I think you got the wrong people. Yeah.
And then there's been a couple questions throughout the stream. People wondering.
So I just put a piece of blue tape on Draga the Bravier, so he's if you were being a blue player, you could easy to find your guy.
People wondering if there's going to be a point in time where you'll be able to use a camera with a capture card to do terrain cam instead of doing it with a phone. So
the app is doing a lot of the thinking. So in addition to the video processing and the API on the phone itself, our app is doing a lot of the thinking and also the communication to Vorpal. And also it's doing all of the compression that makes this possible to stream to a massive range of people's internet connections and a massive range of people's computer horsepower and capability. So if you were to try to send a 4K video with a DSLR camera, for example, just the limitations of people's internet, it would not be able to stream to them, not a group of 6 people anyway, at 4K. It's going to do some compression. It's not capable of doing what we can do in terms of end quality and actual quality received by the entire group of people at the speed that we're sending it. So a long technical answer to that is not likely.
You're saying you don't need to, right? You're saying it's like it doesn't diminishing returns, right? It doesn't really. It's not going to buy that much.
It actually it's going to be a worse experience. As good as that camera is, if I were pre-recording something, and we've had this discussion with streaming companies before, and they think we're insane, right?
Yep.
If you want to pre-record terrain and you know exactly what the storyline is, or if you want to record terrain after your group plays a game, and you did that with a DSLR and then sewed that whole video together and put it up on YouTube or Twitch, yes, that will look a lot better. But to play live and have your players interact with that terrain and have your DM storytell with that terrain,
Yeah, no.
there's no way to do it better than what we do with a stinking cell phone. And for most people, that is like mind-boggling. They think we're insane, but we've worked on it and we've proven it. And
I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah, when you're talking about codecs and you're talking about file sizes, it's way easier to take and send a phone's like camera data because it's literally meant to be shared in that way. Generally speaking, you're talking about FaceTiming people, you're talking about like that kind of stuff. Whereas, yeah, like a cinema camera or a DSLR is not meant to be used that way, so the data's not really encoded to work well with that stuff.
It would be something to be said, for the lens, like looking at everything through nice glass, like everything looks better through an amazing lens. So if there was a way to, I don't know, somehow crunch that data, like, take that information, crunch it the same way you're doing the cell phone data or something. Like, it would be nice to be able to shoot through a beautiful piece of glass.
It'd be nice. I also like, as somebody who doesn't do programming,
yeah,
it seems from the outside like it would be a lot harder. They do make lenses for phones.
Executionally, like, I just want to be able to move my phone around and play the game. Like, I just want to, like, I don't want to have to move a Sony FS7, a 20-pound camera around to try and like.
It is more about kind of.
And I don't want to suspend that straight above my my tabletop either. And be able to go from here to there. I don't have a super techno crane to move your big DSLR around.
One thing we might do in the future is right now our hardware is all dumb, right? All the smartness is in the personal mobile phones of the people using it, and we might do integrated devices at some point. So having an arm with an integrated camera and processing system on the end of the arm and selling.
That would be cool.
Or a box with integrated scanning capability and fancier lighting. One of our goals was in the very beginning, we can do that option. We can do it today. Just putting it at a price point that would allow people to be able to get into it to try this, because this is a new way to play. And if we were to sell this thing for like $300 non-lifetime, who's actually going to buy that when they have no idea if it really works or if they enjoy using it or if it's fun to do it remotely and as the game host. So we chose to keep it low cost for people to try it. So, but yeah, we can totally bring in integrated hardware at some point with some fancier tech and maybe even better quality with some lens capability and some focusing capability and getting a better depth of view or better focal length control.
Yep.
I guess, which would add another element to the DM.
But once again, you don't need any of that. Like, most of the time I don't want to be dealing with the program. I want to be telling the story and having a great time.
Yeah, and there's some beauty in the simplicity. So we're trying not to screw that up too by making it too fancy with new features and capabilities and tech. It's there's a comment in chat about it, feeling daunting just to get started, and that's fair. I mean, it's a new way to do things, and all the stuff I'm showing you is all second nature to us. But hit us up in Discord. We're super, super active on Discord. Our community is super active on Discord. We're here to answer questions. Our community is answering questions. There's people that have played thousands of hours on Vorpal and know as much about it as the core team. Yeah. But we're active as well, and we answer questions. both from a troubleshooting standpoint and as a quick start help. If there are things you don't like about our videos, please let us know. We don't have this all figured out. We're not this brilliant people that know exactly what everyone needs at every single second. So if you want to see more detail, just let us know and we'll try to start including those in our how-tos.
It's too bad everybody can't just play a session. It'd be, because it's sort of like as soon as you've played one session with Vorpal, you're like, oh, I get it. Like this is, like if there were, you like pick up, 15-minute pickup games, like that game that Art did for a DF crew to show everybody how to use Vorpal. Right within 5 minutes of being in, everybody's like, "Wow, this I get it." This, it's like that's the magic.
Thad, do you guys have a Discord link for the, or do you guys have a link for the Discord or the Vorpal Discord? Wow, I cannot get those words in the right order.
If you go to vorpalboard.com, there's wait a minute.
Yeah, because I don't have that link on hand. We got some other stuff. But in regards to the daunting thing, though, I mean, that's something that we deal with as well, that we've actively been trying to work on, is a lot of the stuff when it comes to our terrain and all the features that we have built into it and the way that it's all supposed to go together is super second nature to us, and because of that, we overlook some really basic things that we need to tell people sometimes to understand how this stuff works. And it's getting feedback on stuff, which has been a nice thing about getting on Twitch and getting on Discord, is we get more immediate feedback about that stuff now. So when something isn't clear, it's way easier for us to realize that, because we can't look at it from the perspective of somebody who doesn't know anything about it because we spent all this time making it. So that feedback really is invaluable.
I sent you the link to the Discord in Discord.
Perfect.
So I don't know if that works outside of Discord or not.
It does, yeah. I'm going to drop that in right now. You want to ask or talk about green screen for the backdrop? You could theoretically, if you're talking about trying to green screen it out like in OBS, I actually have thought about doing this, Thad. We haven't done it for one of our games yet, but I've thought about, so since you have complete control over the background color, I've thought about changing it to a chroma green and then green screening it out in OBS to have some other stuff like going on behind it. I haven't done it yet, but I've thought about it.
Yeah.
If there's an overly complicated, difficult thing, we've thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also for the player videos, right? There's sort of a love-hate. If we do it, it's going to be one of those ones that doesn't erase half of a player's body.
If somebody's wearing green, then it's like...
Yeah. Or, is that really going to make that big of a difference in the remote play experience? Or is that just a kitschy, fun thing? We've struggled with this one. If enough of the community asks for it, is it possible? Of course.
He says he means in the Vorpal screen. Do you mean like if you have a green screen on your phone camera, like Vorpal being able to green screen objects out to put something behind it? Like if somebody has a green screen
with the live key stuff out?
Oh, he means like so that we don't see your dresser and the stuff behind the terrain, and to put like a blue sky.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. That would be cool. I don't know. We'd have to think about that and
how you would implement it and all that.
Yep. No, that's a cool idea.
What are the minimum requirements for a mobile phone / tablet that can run the streaming app?
You need something that's decent. So we don't have hard requirements that we've been able to necessarily quantify. And again, it's because part of the reason for that is we keep improving this thing so that bar continues to go down. And it also depends upon the number of people that are in a session and the number of total connections that are in the session. So right now...
and how good their internet is, right?
How good their internet is. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that play into that. Right now we have 5 total connections. We have my phone for some of these assets, so like these player windows and the Dwarven Forge logo and all this stuff. My phone's connected to the session. Nate's is video streaming. And then we have our 3 videos. So if you get above 7 or 8 connections, you start having video lags and player drops and things like that. It with people with poor computers and poor internet. You generally want to have an upload speed, ideally at minimum for every person in the group above 3 to 5 megabytes a second, which isn't absurd. So you don't need some crazy high speed internet, like decent standard internet. And you generally need a computer within the last 3 or 4 years. Some of the tablets, one, it's a tiny screen, but 2, they just don't have processors. So be on a laptop, be on a desktop with a monitor. It's capable of working on some smaller screens, smaller horsepower platforms, but it's just not as fun, to be honest. Cell phones, Android or iOS work. I think we go as far back as the i5 on the iPhone. Please don't quote me on this.
I think James or somebody is in chat and they're saying the i5. Yeah, they're saying 5S and the Android 5 are the ones you guys go back to.
Perfect. I did remember. Thank you, James, for jumping in. These are James' questions. I'm the hardware guy. Let's see what else.
That is really the big thing. We've had issues before with players who come into the game and we start playing and then we find out like 20 minutes in, they're like, oh yeah, they're working on my
the internet.
Yeah, they're working on my internet right now, so it's gonna be going in and out, and it's like, you can't be doing that. You got to actually have like your internet up today. Like,
yeah, I mean, that is one of the things. This is still web based, right? I mean, it's still relying on your internet and your computer to pass video information around. It's not you need reasonable stuff, right? I mean, just think of it that way. And
what I will say too is we're also like talking about this from like the perspective of the person who'll be setting everything up. From a player perspective, it's really as simple as being given a link of what the room is and just having a camera and a microphone that Vorpal is allowed to use, and that's really all you have to do as a player. And you learn how the dice work, you learn how your mouse works, and that's kind of all you really have to do as a player.
Yeah, we have a really good, just simple how to play on Vorpal as a remote player. So if you have somebody coming in new, have them watch that. I think it's a 5-minute video. I'll send you that video as well, Chris.
Okay.
If you can post that in Slack, or sorry, in Twitch. But it's have them watch that ahead of time, and if they actually do watch it, they're going to be able to get in super, super quick and just learn how to play.
Let them start the game with inspiration if they actually watch the video.
Let's go ahead and actually roll this giveaway. Well, let's see if there's any more questions you guys have. If you want to get in on this giveaway, again, if you haven't entered yet, just type Ogre in the chat and you'll be entered to potentially win 2 free months of Vorpal. So you can try it out with you and your group. I'm going to put the video in here.
And that remote player video is actually some terrain of Arthur Wright's that he has some original resin stuff in there. A really sweet beholder encounter that we did.
So I like having a couple players on site that can fiddle with all the video and I can focus on the game. Much easier for the DM. Yeah, I mean, so when we do our games, since we go like big production, usually what it is Nate is just DMing and moving pieces around, and then we've got Selena moving the camera around, and usually we have somebody like on the light board, and then I'm on the computer like managing music changes and scene changes and all that stuff. That's like a big produced thing. In the other games
or you want the timing to be like
because we're like pushing everything to its limits to try and like do like this big thing because we don't know how to just calm down. But for a lot of the games, like it is a simple thing.
Forge in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I will say though, I mean, one of my favorite games that I've ever played in was a one-shot that Dan Mizushi did, and he literally just had fly-in terrain trays, and you could see his desk and it was totally raw. And Dan is like zero tech savvy, and he's a friend of mine. He'll admit it, but like it was just raw. Like you could see his DM notes right there in the shot, and the shot was kind of eh.
But it doesn't matter. The story is cool, and he's fun, and you're in it, and you're immersed, and it's like
So yes, watch the streams and see kind of the high end version of what, but please don't think you need to do that as a home DM. I mean, I've played in games before where people literally just set their tablet up on the kickstand and with a hand drawn map and a couple of minis, and you're playing D&D.
Well, because at the end of the day, the point is that you want to just feel like you're in the room playing together, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. I'm going to roll the giveaway.
And that's the thing, about remote play is really, once you're playing, it doesn't, it just doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you're across the country or in different countries or whatever. Like, once you're playing, and it's the best.
All right. Let's roll this giveaway real quick.
Assuming you don't have stupid tech problems that shut everything down.
Hey, it's going to No Time for Dudes.
Hey. Congrats, No Time for Dudes.
No Time for Dudes. I will also hit you up on Discord because I know you're there, and that's easier than using the Twitch messages. Excellent. So that'll be 2 months of Vorpal boards. You can try that out.
Cool. We'll get choked up.
And again, with any of this stuff too, like the Vorpal guys have been very easy to work with, and I'm sure they'll be just as easy to work with as you guys. Because again, like, there's been a lot of times we've come to you with like, hey, we want to try to do this like ridiculous thing with your software. And you've worked with us to like try and figure it out. And I'm sure for people who aren't doing things that are that ridiculous, it'll be even easier.
Well, you haven't asked us to do anything ridiculous, but I think, some of the questions in chat were some of the questions that you guys were asking us in the very beginning of, I'm used to doing it this way, whether it's at home or whether I'm streaming. How can I do these kind of things in Vorpal? And that's kind of evolved the way that we've built the software, one, but two, when you get down to its core, Vorpal is super simple. And if you just start with the simple stuff of point the phone at the damn table and start playing and then forget everything else.
And you have a color-coded mouse that shows where you want to go, and you roll your dice, and it's like, you don't have to do anything fancy. Like, literally, I download the app, I hit start video stream, start streaming, and type the room number in, and I was done. Like,
play a game.
That's the thing. Dice. That's the thing is, like, I've managed all that stuff. I've managed all the tech stuff when we've been doing the games, and Nate hadn't done any of it. And then today when it was like setting up the phone, it took you like no time. It was just
90 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you can get fancier with bringing in assets and doing tokens and initiative tracking and
you didn't show your initiative tracking thing. Is neat.
Oh yeah, so literally for that, and I actually don't even have it in here. But like we just use a token representing the player and then have numbered tokens for the monsters. If you go to YouTube, we've got a ton of videos up with that, or Fable 42's does it a lot in their games as well. And then just move something to indicate the player that's currently active in initiative. So, if this is our initiative order, we'll just drag the fireball from one person to the next kind of thing. And just, it's that simple.
Legal question from Odin Forged. If he's running a Twitch stream on Vorpal board, can they use the logos? No sponsorship, just for free advertising. Can they use the Vorpal board logos? I guess is what they're saying.
Yeah, we would appreciate a courtesy, hey, can I use this? Just so we have some documentation on who's using what. It is a copyrighted logo, so just hit us up. But yeah, we're eventually on our wish list for 2021 as some type of affiliate type structure.
Oh, an affiliate program would be cool.
But again, we're not building this for streaming. So we've kind of struggled with, is it worth the time? Because again, like a really, really good looking Twitch stream in Vorpal looks like a really good OBS /Zoom /production built sort of thing. And you don't realize when you're watching these great streams you've done with Dwarven Forge that it's all built in Vorpal board and that there's no Twitch magic. This is how the players see it. So that doesn't come across in Twitch streaming. So we haven't really focused on the streaming community as hard. But you know, depending on how you do your crop, you're gonna see some Vorpal logos anyway. Like here's a Vorpal logo. You know, if you did card backs. So yeah, I mean, we're not gonna hurt you if you do Vorpal stuff.
And you can use Odin Forged. You can use the Dwarven Forge logo in your game for sure.
Somebody,
I think
somebody's
he's been on every stream.
somebody's saying it's a good call to want to know who's using it.
Yeah,
Just because there's some people on Twitch who might not be as savory as others.
yeah, using our logo, obviously we have zero control over. If you want to use our system to stream, of course you're welcome to. I mean, you own the software; you can do what you like with it.
Yeah.
Um,
A couple other questions to cover real quick. Thoughts on using this for non D&D systems? Seems like a way to enable remote Warhammer / skirmish games. The biggest struggle with that, we talked about that briefly earlier. The biggest problem with that is the measuring. Although Thad pointed out you could just import a ruler and use that to try and
have
measure
the
things.
person there, whoever's got the minis measure.
Yeah.
yeah, they're probably going to be moving the minis anyway, so for them to do a measurement for you, same thing with some board games, right? The game host is kind of acting as the getting the group together person, and you might choose to just do all the cards and all the components and everything physical. That person is managing the physical portion of the game for you.
We have
You
some
could
people.
use, it would be great for a dungeon world where just like all theater of the mind, but you using the system to bring in photos or anything you wanted to share with people. Mostly just having the dice, right? Rolling those 2d6 on screen and seeing what you hit together is like it's the best. Like the shared experience of rolling the dice together is just awesome.
Yeah, it's been some of the best parts of like the games that we did is really high stakes rolls. It like having that reveal happen for everybody at the same time, and knowing whether it's a good one or not is really exciting. It makes the ones and the 20s like very impactful.
It really does. It's like, yeah, I love it.
Let's see. Let's man, what else is? Some people are saying that you should just give everybody a free month so that they all get hooked. And
That's not a bad idea. We've talked about that.
doing some kind of free trial system. There's also some requests, Nate. People talking about the games that we said we would do for Wildlands if we do those in Vorpal to give people a taste of it.
Sure.
I think the main thing is just we got to make sure that everybody who's going to be participating in the game is capable of running it. Is the main thing.
Yes.
That's the only thing that might be if somebody is like, hey, I'm a big backer. I'm very excited to have won the chance to play a game with you, but I use this Apple too.
I live in a cabin in the woods, and I just have this.
Yeah.
I'm writing to you on my electric typewriter.
Yeah.
So since it's kind of coming up with the free months too, I just wanted to again emphasize all the hardware options that we sell. They come with 2 free months of the software, so kind of try it before you're starting to pay for the monthly subscription sort of thing, and to help you kind of get over that learning curve. And then we also don't nickel and dime you on timing of it, so the timing of it starts after you receive it, so at some increment. And then you can buy it as a month for $4.99, or you can buy for an annual subscription, I believe, at $49.99. We don't have any other increments from there.
$5
Yes,
a
the
month
full
is
year
amazing.
is $50.
It's a really, if you're playing D&D once a week, that's $1.25 a session for like
With a group of 5 people.
yeah. That's a quarter a piece for per game for everybody. You can have it's for what you're getting. It's an awesome deal. And you guys are a tiny company of good people who are gamers and are like, it's a good folks to support.
People are asking why you don't sell the camera stand separately. I'm assuming they're talking about the arm. That's
We
kind of
do,
what
actually.
that's kind of what the RPG bundle is, isn't it?
That's exactly it. So we just came out with that. We opened that up last week, in fact. So we started at it. We added a new RPG because we can't say D&D page to our website, and then have the RPG package, which includes the ARM
I love the arm.
and 2 free months of software. And for U.S. customers, it has free shipping, and for internationals, it's discounted shipping. And in case anybody's wondering, we're not trying to get rich off this ARM. You cannot buy stuff that we're sending you in this ARM on Amazon for less if you're a U.S. customer. Internationals, we do suggest that if you're interested in this, that you look at a local option because of the import duties, taxes, and fees that we have no options around.
Oh, it's the worst. Yeah.
It's horrible. And please know that we know it's horrible, and it's horrible for us because we don't want to have you pay that much. But and that's why we discounted shipping. But you can probably buy these pieces cheaper through some local Amazon type service. And if you have questions on it, it's a phone cradle, it's a ball joint, and it's a really long microphone stand. Just throw away the microphone holder and buy the components. It will be more expensive than buying it from Vorpal, but less total if you don't include the import duties, taxes, and fees and shipping, which is as low as we can get it because this thing is big and bulky.
There's an interesting idea for like doing like a free weekend or something every now and then to give people a chance. We can also run.
Yeah, we've done that around cons too.
I'd love to do community games through our Discord and stuff too, but it's just finding the time to like organize stuff like that. That could be a way to kind of show off.
You sound like a D&D player. Man, I'd love to get this campaign together, but the finding the time, the schedule is.
I need to find somebody who wants to DM and yeah.
Yeah, man, I gotta.
It'd be nice, Vicky, because we got a lot of people in the Discord and everything. It'd be fun to get some community games going. Maybe that could be a way to give people like some experience with Vorpal, but just gotta like get it going.
We are, especially with COVID, going to continue to work with some of the virtual conventions and the big ones. We did some work with Gen Con. We will definitely be doing some work again with Gary Con this coming year. And if you're a DM or a GM, there's other virtual tabletops out there that are hosting a ton of community games. Please get used to using Vorpal and bring some people in on this system and host games just like you would at a convention in person. And keep people playing again because people need D&D right now.
Yeah, they do.
And what's nice about this is, again, once you do it, this is way easier than any virtual tabletop you've ever used. I promise you that. This is really basic, and it gives you complete freedom to use your actual stuff. And you're just moving your real stuff around. It's like you're playing a home game again. You don't need a background in computer programming to use our system. It's drag and drop.
And it's an excuse to play with your terrain if you haven't, if you've been putting off playing a game or you haven't built whatever because you're not playing in person. Just it's a reason to get the terrain out again and start playing again.
Dust it off.
Yeah,
man.
All right, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, it's about 9:15. We've been going a little bit long. Any last minute questions? Any burning things we need to answer? I feel like we've covered basically everything. We talked about custom colors. We talked about assets. We talked about features I didn't know existed. Shut off the phone. Man. Cover the dice. Discount code for Dwarven Forge customers for a year sub.
It's $50 for a year.
I don't know if we can. I guess it's true. Yeah, it is like 2 months off free basically if you do an annual. I don't know. I don't know if it's something that we can just say like right here on stream either. You would need to talk
They
to.
spend all their money. They're like, listen, I dropped $6,000 on Dwarven Forge. I don't have any money left for streaming. I need this $5 off.
Yeah, we'd probably need to not talk about. Yeah, just put in the code HamPlanet at checkout. And
I'll talk to the crew. We'll see if we can do a discount code. I like HamPlanet. HamPlanet's perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do a limited, a short run, right? For 1 week only, you get a discount or something they have to do it, act fast. Right?
I'll talk to the guy. I mean, we want to get people using this thing and having fun, especially right now with what's going on in the world. So, yeah, I mean, if we gave away 100 people a free month of Vorpal or something, oh well, right? I mean, that's a good thing to happen. So
You'd bring some smiles to the world.
yeah.
Yeah, we just can't make big promises like that without you talking to the team first, at least.
I'm not, sorry, I'm not gonna guarantee that on stream.
Yeah.
I will talk to him about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any burning questions. A couple people are saying that this was a helpful stream, so that's good. Because that's one of the things we every time we do a game, we get like a lot of questions about it, and it's just actually taking the time to finally sit down and just kind of walk through this for people and like demonstrate everything practically. I think was really nice. Because this is I don't know. This is a software that I was initially fairly skeptical of, and I've come to enjoy it quite a bit. I'm really happy that we use it. I'm happy that by chance you happened to ask to talk to us right as we were starting to stream. It's all.
How did you? What was it? How did you reach out to us, Thad? What was the? What was the origin story?
You were on the grease board as strategic. Oh my god! If we're gonna do this, we have to talk to these people. And actually, Arthur Wright, who's been an awesome.
Yeah. He connected us.
Yeah, he knew you, and he knew Selena. Who else did he know?
Nina.
Nina.
He met us in person at PAX East, I think. Yeah.
So yeah, he made the introduction, and then you and I chatted, and it went kind of nutso from there.
Nutso indeed. Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah.
I had like just started actually coming in regularly when this thing happened, so I got like roped into the demonstration. I had no idea what was going on really, and it was like right as I was coming in and starting to like set things up to start streaming. It's great. I don't know.
I remember that you're kind of side eyeballing me from your desk, which was in the room there.
To be fair, I was sitting on the side of the. I was sitting off to your side. I don't know. It was a stressful time.
It was. Crazy road. And I was nervous as heck because I knew how, like, if we were going to do this, right, it had to be terrain, and there's no better company than Dwarven Forge to be working with from a terrain standpoint. So I'm like, oh, we got to pull this one off.
Well, you drove the, like, 4 hours round trip or whatever to, in, like, the middle of the night to come show this thing up. 6 hours round trip?
Yeah, I live north of Albany.
Wow.
You're in Brooklyn. Yeah. So,
yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So happy to do it. We got to get together again in person when it's not so crazy.
Yeah.
When it's not so crazy.
There's so much stuff I want to do when this is over, man. Like there's all the ideas that we've shelved, and even stuff that I want to do like while this is still going to, like remote. Because even once you know we're not quarantined again, like being able to play remotely like this also like. We can play with people who are across the country that we normally wouldn't get to play with too. So like playing remotely is still going to be a good thing for us.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm very excited to keep pushing.
Well, and that's one thing we haven't talked about, right? I mean, obviously COVID is insane, right? And it has forced people to do things that they normally wouldn't do. But if pre-COVID, there was kind of a sort of a grumbling need for this, right? I mean, how many times have you heard people in the Dwarven Forge community that have said, I've got all this great stuff, but I can't get my group together at the table for normal life reasons. People get older, they move, they have work.
Every gamer ever has had this problem. This is the bane of all gaming everywhere.
We've had a lot of people say that, like, yeah, the reason they didn't go on terrain for a long time is they're like, well, my college group, like, you know, we all went different ways after college, and so, like, we can't really play with terrain anymore because we're, you know, on different parts of the world.
Well, and I sadly think that's why the virtual tabletops have gotten so popular, is because it was a way to connect with people. But by doing that, you've lost like a major element of the fun part of this hobby, and it's the tactile stuff. It's the real stuff.
Yeah.
And like that has been the point from the beginning for Vorpal, is like you're still part of the hobby, but you can do it with people remotely. If you have an awesome board game, Gloomhaven was the impetus for this thing. James got Gloomhaven from a Kickstarter, and he moved from Wisconsin to New York and wanted to still play with his gaming group back in Wisconsin, and trying to do a webcam literally zip tied to his dining room light didn't really work. and it sort of worked. But then he hacked some stuff together and built some of the basics of this thing, and like made sense. But like the thing that's been fun is people have started actually using that stuff again, and it's instead of buying it again virtually in a virtual tabletop or literally playing a freaking video game basically version of it, you lose something.
Yeah. No, it's true. It keeps we preserve the analog with Vorpal.
Yeah.
It's great.
Which is great because we're an analog company. Yeah.
All right, I gotta have some analog sleep now.
Yes,
gotta,
that's a good point.
For
So I guess this is our last on the Anvil of the year, guys. Thank
Yeah.
you for joining us for this. Thank you, Thad, for working with our schedule and coming on here. I know we've been talking about trying to do something like this for a while, and we finally just managed to get it in.
Well, and
So we have
our RPG package last week, so it was good timing.
Yeah,
it's great timing. And you put the link up there, right? So people can.
I put it in a couple times. I'm gonna. Every time I keep typing Corpal instead of Vorpal, and I don't know why. All right.
Cobalt.
And we have a hobby hang tomorrow night, and then no streaming for 2 weeks for us, and then we'll be back the first Wednesday of January. And we have Felipe on for real this time.
Or
no,
I'm gonna talk to him and see how he feels about it, because that's the final day of his vacation, so I'm gonna see how he feels. I'm hoping if we don't have him in on the 4th, we'll have him in very early on in the new year. We just have to figure out what's gonna work with his schedule the best.
It'll be fun.
Yeah,
we're looking forward to it. And Thad, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and thanks for you've been the last 10 months have just been ratcheting up the awesomeness of Vorpal board, and just making it the platform that all gamers everywhere need. Thanks for all your hard work on it, and
fun.
Thanks for being a good friend to the Forge, man. You've been
man, absolutely
been super solid. And thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Congrats to all the winners, and have a wonderful, happy, safe, and healthy holiday. Hope everybody gets some time to do some gaming.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Good night. Thanks. Bye.